The following program does not necessarily represent the views of the Trinity Broadcasting Network.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Carroll Tata, your host, and today I would like to welcome my guest, Linda Brooks, who is a foster care supervisor with the Virginia Department of Human Services, and Judy Spelman, who is a foster parent herself. And today our issue today is family, and our topic is foster parents. So welcome so much. Thank you so much for coming today, Linda and Judy. So Linda, I'm going to start with you, and can you tell us a little bit about what you do with the Department of Social Services?
Yes, well, actually, I'm a supervisor, as you mentioned, with Virginia Beach Department of Human Services. And my role is that I supervise the foster care program. My role is to approve, train, and certify foster parents to become parents for children who are coming into foster care.
And can you talk a little bit about how it all works as far as social services
Sure.
and what happens, the whole process?
Well, it starts in the beginning with Child Protective Services. CPS is called when there's a situation, urgent crisis, where the child who's in need, unsafe. They go out and they review the situation and see if that child is unsafe. They assess the family, they go through the whole process. And if it's determined that that child's safety is such in need that that child cannot remain in that home because they may die if they stay in that home, they might make the decision to bring the child into foster care. Now, they give the birth family an opportunity to make a safety plan. They try very hard. You have relatives, you have friends, you have anybody this child could go to keep this child safe. And when all else fails and they cannot find a plan, then they bring the child into foster care. That's when they call me and my department, my unit, and we place children in a foster home.
So when you work with the families, are you working with the foster parents and the children, or just the foster parents, or are you in charge of everything?
I'm working with the foster parents and the children.
So when the children come in, how do you decide which foster parent to call?
Well, when we go through the assessment process, when people become foster parents, we really ask them, what kind of child would you be interested in? And we fully assess them as their ability to be stable and able to manage a child that's coming in their home. Age-wise, how it mixes with the children that they have in their home, basically the age of their children, just to make sure it's a good fit.
Oh, yeah.
And once we do all of that, we have a full home study that we've written up, and we put them on a roster that basically indicates that they could take a child that might be between the ages of like 10 and 15 or something like that. So if the child that comes into foster care is between that age, we assess the situation, determine if that's a good fit for that family, and then we call that family and say, would you be interested in taking this 11-year-old boy or something like that for foster care?
Okay. And so you work in Virginia Beach, and so if a family is in Norfolk, each of the different cities have their own service centers.
Each city has, each locality we call them,
Yeah.
has their own set of foster parents that they do the same process with. But we're all friends,
Yeah.
and we've shared before, and if there's a need that I know Chesapeake might have a family that can meet my need, I'll call and say, will you let me borrow your family? And they've let me do that.
Wow, that's really nice.
It is.
So who has the most, or do you know, is Virginia Beach, I know we're the most populated, but do we have the most foster children?
You know, it's hard to really say. Every city has their own set of foster children. Virginia Beach has about 240 kids in care at this present time.
Oh, wow. Is that a typical year, or is that?
It varies. There's sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. So on average, it's about 240, that children in care.
And how many foster parents do you have?
We have about 68 approved foster parents with the city of Virginia Beach.
Wow.
And just to break it down a little bit, out of the 68 foster homes that city of Virginia Beach has, we have about 84 children placed in those homes.
Oh,
so you
wow.
might ask, where are the other children?
Yeah.
Well, the other children are in different situations. We also partner with other child placing agencies that are private child placing agencies.
Oh, okay.
That will help us, and they've got approved foster parents as well, so we can place some of our children with those, and there's
Yeah.
about 10, 11 licensed private child placing agencies in the area. We have some children in what's called congregate care, which is like a residential type facility because maybe their behaviors and traumas are
right.
are so intense that they are not able to be maintained in the home. But we're working to get them back home. We're
Right.
trying to do our best to find a home for them once their behavior stabilizes. Then we also have children who might be in pre-adoptive homes. We have children that might be on trial placements home with their parents. So they're different places, but they're all still in foster care with City of Virginia Beach.
Well, and even the ones that are in the private agencies, they still come through your department.
Yes.
They all go through.
They
So
all
you
come through
know where
City of Virginia
everybody
Beach.
is.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you work with outside sources like counselors and things like that? Do you...
Absolutely. Once, like I mentioned, the child comes into foster care, we're going to do everything we can to get that child back home
Right.
with their parents. And so the social work staff, they work really hard to find a service plan, make a service plan, basically.
So what? So someone is assigned to that child,
Yes.
and then they sort of branch out and.
Right, and they,
Oh,
they
yeah.
refer people out to different services to make sure they are able to remedy the situation that brought the child into care, so the
Right.
family can be put back together.
Right, because that's your main goal.
That is our main goal.
Does
we
that
call that
happen?
reunification.
Oh yeah. So does that happen more often than not? I mean,
It certainly does.
well, that's good. That's
It certainly does.
encouraging. So let's talk a little bit about the foster parents and what you look for. You mentioned there are a couple different types of foster parents.
Well, we actually are in need on different type of foster parents. You can be a traditional foster parent, an emergency foster parent, or a respite foster parent. So a traditional foster parent is a parent who can take a child pretty much wherever long the child needs to stay in care, whether it's 2 days, 2 years, 2 months, however long that child needs to stay into care. And if the situation presents itself, termination of parental rights might happen where we're not able to put the family back together and we're not able to find relatives, then that traditional parent might be in a position to adopt that child. Then we have emergency foster parents. Those are people who are able to take a child pretty much at any time of the day or night. If we have emergencies that happen in the middle of the night, different situations happen where a child has to come into foster care, and we need families who are able to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and allow that child to come in their home and spend up to at least 5 days until we're able to sort out what happened and find another plan for that child if necessary. It could mean that the family is just having a temporary distress and the child can go home in about 5 days, or relatives can be found in about 5 days. It could also mean holidays and after hours, and if Christmas happens and you're cutting a turkey with Cousin Charlie, I might call you and say, I need a placement for this child.
Yeah.
I need you to say, I'll make another place for that child. And you
How
bring
often
that
does
child
that
on.
happen?
It happens more lately,
Yeah.
I've noticed, but it's not something that's constantly common. But it really just depends on situations and circumstances.
Yeah.
But the reality is I do need people who, if you will, pardon the expression, are ready to go,
Right.
to accept the child and able to kind of make it happen. And then we have respite parents. I call them my weekend warriors. Those are parents who are able to have a child in their home for the weekend or short periods of time, because every foster parent gets respite, which is like a weekend to go out of town or do something
right.
with their family or have a break,
Right.
because the child might have some behaviors that are a little traumatizing and difficulty. And therefore, they would put a child in another foster home, another certified foster home for a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Or the family has to go out of town and the child is not able to come. It could be a death in the family or circumstances that that child just really doesn't need to be there. We put that child in another foster home.
Oh yeah. So now, do the respite foster parents do they come from your pool of traditional, or do some people go right into the system as respite?
Everybody can do anything they want.
Well,
They
that's
could be a
nice.
respite
And they could
parent,
go back
they could
and
be a
forth.
traditional parent, they could be an emergency parent. You choose.
Yeah.
You could be all three, or you could just be one. It's certainly up to you. We do need, for the most part, traditional parents. We need that
Right.
core. But we also really need emergency parents. But at the same time, there's still needs for respite. So it's kind of hard to say
Yeah.
what we need more, but if I had to put it on something, it'd be traditional or emergency.
Now, the 68 that you have right now, is that a high number, low number, or a typical number?
Well, it's a kind of a low number.
Oh,
we
it
want
is?
more. We certainly want more.
All right, so what do you look for when you are recruiting parents?
Well,
foster
we're looking
parents?
for people who have time,
Yeah.
patience,
Do you have to be a
flexibility.
stay-at-home parent?
No,
You can't
you
be
do
a
not have
working
to. You could be
parent.
a working parent. You could be single. You could be married.
Wow.
If you are a working parent, you do need to have that flexibility in your schedule. So
Right.
if you're thinking that you want to become a foster parent, we tell people, start talking to your boss and say, look, I want to do this. And,
right, that's
and it's going to mean, it's going to mean a lot of appointments.
Yeah.
We
especially
schedule
for the, as you assess them and make sure that they're a fit.
Exactly. And the child has services and needs too.
Right.
There's visitation with the family.
Oh, yeah.
There's assessments that the child might have, therapies, things of that nature.
Appointments.
Appointments, lots of those. So that requires a lot of flexibility. So yes, you can be working,
that's important.
but you have to know that you have to have that flexibility.
Okay.
Patience.
Yeah.
A lot of patience.
Yeah. Because of the system is frustrating, or
it's both. It could be the system.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that happen. It could also be that the child might have some traumas, and these children are fitting into your family. You're not raising these children. Were not raised by you, so they've got different sets of lifestyles that they're used to. So you have to be really patient and teach that child. Basically teach that child to basically be stable, basically, and that's what you want to do. So patience, love, definitely love, stability. We want your family to be stable. If you've got a rocky house going on in your family, that's not a good place for a child that's basically been disrupted by from the parents. So we want to make sure that your home is stable and loving, and we want you to be committed. We want you to be committed to the program,
do you ask for
and to the child.
Certain time frame of how long you want people to sign up for?
Well, it's kind of, we let it be up to that family, because there could be situations where the family might be fostering for a year, 2 years, and circumstances might change within their family where they might need to take a break, or they might need to stop for a little while, and that's fine. We understand that. You are the best predictor of what your family's needs are.
Right.
So if that happens, then we'll understand that, and we can put you on a little temporary hiatus so that you can, get things back in order for yourself, and then come on back, and we'll be able to place with you again.
All right, so if you have some parents, and tell us a little bit about well, first of all, tell us about how you assessed, what are you looking for to determine if they're a good fit? Well, you said like home visits and
yes, absolutely.
Stability.
Part of the process of becoming a foster parent, of course, you have to go through information session to make sure that you really know what you're doing. And we try and make sure we give them a lot of time to kind of understand what you're doing so that you can see if this is a good fit for your family.
Right.
And then the assessment process is the home study.
Oh,
we call it mutual family assessment, but it's AKA home study. And that's when we really are asking about your lifestyle, your parenting, your background, your childhood, your marriage. We ask a lot of questions, and it does, sometimes it feels a little invasive, but we really need to know who you are and how your family operates so that we can make sure this is a good fit for you.
Right.
We want you to be financially stable. We want you to have your health needs to be stable, of course. If you have pets, we've got to make sure they're safe and
not
all
ferocious.
Their vaccinations are up to date, and that your home, of course, especially your home is safe.
Right.
And so all those things we take into consideration, and we write a document, which is called a home study. It could be 10, 12, 15 pages, and we review all that information, and we get together and we approve your home with a group of other professionals, CPS, foster care, adoptions, so that we can make a multidisciplinary approach to the approval of your home.
And how long does that process take?
It takes 60 days for the
okay.
most part, sometimes 90 depending on, what other circumstances, but, there's a fingerprint, there's Child Protective Services background check, there's a DMV check, we have to do a lot of things just to make sure
absolutely.
that we have to be sure that your home is safe and that child is a good fit for your home, and that we can make sure that you're able to meet the needs of that child.
I was going to say 60 days, that sounds pretty fast.
Yeah, it can be. Really, it's kind of up to the parent, really. I mean, there's some parent who might, I'm not sure if I'm able to get that done. But, for the most part, it's up to you. How soon can you get your fingerprints done? How soon can you give me this? You
can
get
help
your physical.
See if how motivated they are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, so we're going to actually take a break in just a second, and then we're going to hear from Judy as well. But and when we come back, let's start the segment with training, like how they're trained, and then Judy, you can also weigh in on what you had to go through for your training as well. So we've been talking to Judy Spelman and Linda Brooks, and we're talking about foster parenting, and we hope you'll stay with us, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tata, your host, and we've been talking to Linda Brooks of the Virginia Beach Department of Human Services. And we're welcoming Linda back, and now we're also asking Judy to join us. Judy Spelman is an actual foster parent, and we're going to start this segment with talking about the training that's involved to be a foster parent.
Well, the training, it's a requirement that all people who come through become foster parents receive 27 hours of pre-service PRIDE training. The training we offer is on Wednesday nights, and it's pretty much 9 consecutive weeks. We do it from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday evenings, and for 9 consecutive weeks, which equates to 27 hours. The training is called PRIDE, and what we try to do really hard to make sure that you understand the purpose of why you're becoming a foster parent, what we need in terms of stability of the family, to work with the birth family, because it's really important that we're working as a team to make sure that the child is able to return home. We want to make sure we support the relationships with the birth family and make sure the child is always safe. As far as training is concerned, it's like several topics that we talk about, but what I really enjoy most about our training is that our training is not just by myself and the foster care staff. We also include 4 of our resource parents in the PRIDE training, because we're able to really make sure that they get a really good perspective of what it means to be a foster parent.
Right.
I've never been a foster parent. I can't tell you what it means to bring
Right.
that child in the first day and how you get them comfortable and how
Yeah.
you say goodbye, all those things. And our foster parents are wonderful as trainers, as they're able to really give that real world explanations of what it means to be a foster parent.
So Judy, you want to talk a little bit about your experience? We'd love to hear that.
I have been, my family, which consists of my husband, and then we have one daughter who is now an adult, but she was 12 when we started, and we have been doing this for about 10 years.
Wow.
And
How did you first get involved? Did you just felt a calling to do this?
well, oddly enough, we loved children. My husband and I both had always been very active and involved in one way or another with children. And I actually saw something on television about this time of year.
Oh, wow.
And decided, well, let me make a phone call.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did that very day. And then within a month or so, my husband and I were going through the training process that Linda just spoke about. And we started out getting our feet wet slowly. We started out just doing some emergency and respite placements to kind of ease ourselves into what the experience was going to be like. And then at a point just a few months into it, we said, all right, the next phone call that we get, we will say we're ready.
Wow.
And so our very first placement was a little boy that came to our home and stayed for about 2 years.
Oh my
And
goodness. Is that a typical situation or is that unusual?
It could be. It just depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
it,
So there's no time limit.
Well,
Like,
there's a time limit in the sense that they try very hard, and the court system has gotten a little more stringent about trying to get the whole process done within like a 24-month period of time, because that child is just languishing there,
Right.
and that child needs some kind of permanency.
Right.
There's a big gap between a 6-year-old child coming into care and to think that child's going to be 8 when that child goes out of care.
Right.
That child's had 2 full years of development where he's not had what we would call a permanent situation. So all efforts are made to work with the family, that child's family of origin, and get the process done so that child can go back home.
That's really interesting about the, I did not realize that you're very involved with the birth parents.
Absolutely.
So do they come to your house, or do you have supervised meetings, or how does that all work?
Well, and that has been a change from years ago, where that a child's parents had really no idea where their child was.
Right, which would be
Which would be
terribly frightening.
very scary
Yeah.
for any mother or father
Right.
to have no idea. And the child, if you go back a really long way, children were moved from foster home to foster home in the misguided idea that it was better for the child because we didn't want them to get attached
Oh.
to
Oh my
a foster
gosh.
parent.
Yeah.
However, we know that is not beneficial at all.
Right.
And so the whole picture has shifted, and so now what we've learned is that we want to bring the child into the foster home and treat the child absolutely as if they're another member of your family.
Right.
They go on vacation with you, they go to the grocery store with you, they just
Eat with you, sleep
sit
with you,
down,
just
sit
yeah.
at the table and have dinner together, and to make it as normal an environment for that child as you can, all the while you're sort of talking out of both sides of your mouth, because you're trying to make that child feel very much like part of your family,
Right.
while at the same time you know that what you're also trying to do is get that child back home to their own family.
So do you
And
talk a
we
lot
work-
about the parents, your mom and your dad, and
Yes,
to try to bring
and
them as part of the vocabulary?
Now what happens is you typically will at least meet the birth parents, as we call them. You'll meet the birth parents usually very often at a first visitation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if I have Stephen and he's in my home, I take him to the social services building,
Right.
human services building, and there are visitation rooms.
Oh, wow.
And I will meet those parents, and it does immediately. I've seen it happen very easily where it gives so much comfort. I'm able to say to those parents, I've got Stephen, he's
Right.
doing just fine. We're
Right.
taking good care of him. And in so many words say, hey, we're rooting for you. We know you've got a lot of work to
Yeah.
do, Mom and Dad. You've got classes to take. You're working on whatever your issues are.
Right.
And we're just going to be taking care of your children and encouraging you to do what you need to do,
Yeah.
so that we can quickly give your children back to you. And
That's got to be so emotional for everybody. Is the child there too?
depending on the age of the child, whether you're having a lot of conversation in front of the child or whether you are not, and it depends on how the child is handling it.
Yeah.
It's reassuring
Right.
to the child if, hey, my foster parents and my parents, they're friends, they get
Yeah.
along with each other. That takes a lot of pressure off
Right.
the child.
Right, because they might feel, betrayed.
There's a loyalty issue.
Yeah.
I like living here, but I want to go home.
Yeah.
But I want my home to be like you guys. I want my house to be like how you guys live, where everybody
Yeah.
sits down and has dinner. And so there's lots of issues that the children live with in trying to process what's happening. But the more that we can all be on the same page, and when we are doing training for foster parents, which I'm one of those foster parents who helps with the Pride training, so I'm up there instructing prospective families, and that's one of the big points that we make, is that you will be part of a professional team,
Right.
and that's right up there with all the other things that are required, that you'll be part of a team with a caseworker, with a therapist, with every child has a guardian ad litem assigned to them, which is an attorney that just represents that child. There can be various other individuals who are part of the team that are working hard to help this family get back together. So that's my role, among others, is to work with those parents as best I can, and really just to be an encourager
Yeah.
for them to do whatever they need to do, and at the same time help them know that one of the things they don't need to be stressed and worried about as are my children all right.
Right, right. So do they give you pushback? Do they ever try to get their children back, you know, when they see you? And
Parents will have all kinds of different attitudes when you
have you seen it
when
all?
you meet them.
Probably in 10 years.
And I've seen it all, but quite naturally.
Yeah.
When the children are first taken away,
They're scared.
those families feel defensive.
Yeah.
They feel like they've maybe been treated unfairly.
Yeah.
You know, nobody really understands. Everything's okay. I'm doing just fine with my children. But part of the process, which so many wonderful services are made available to those parents, and they will begin to very quickly kind of get a clearer picture of what is happening, and that nobody is their enemy, nobody is against them.
Right.
Everybody, we all have had some kind of trouble somewhere along the way
Right.
in our lives. It's human nature, where you just do better one day than another, but we need for them to come around and realize and do the work that they need to do. Now, that's not my responsibility to see that that's done.
Yeah.
That is the Department of Social Services and the caseworker that's assigned to that family. They're not just assigned to that foster child.
Right.
They're assigned to that family, and they work
It's a comprehensive process.
with all of that family.
Yeah.
And so while that's going on and the parents are doing what they need to do, my job is to just take care of the children, love on them, make them feel safe, help them to know that mom and dad are doing their homework. A lot
Right.
of times, it's like the judge is, we present it that the judge is the principal,
Yeah.
and that there's a lot of teachers, and that the parents are doing their homework. Sometimes the homework is kind of hard, but they're working on their homework. And when they get all their homework done, then that's when reunification will hopefully happen.
All right, well, Judy, we are actually about out of time, but before we end, can you just tell us like the one top thing you would say to parents to encourage them to consider being a foster parent? And then Linda, I'll end with you with where you can give your website to give more information. So what's the top thing that you would want people to know and encourage them to become a foster parent?
Working with foster children is, if you find that it's something that you can do and that fits for you and for your family, it's the absolutely most rewarding thing to watch a child and watch a family who has come into the need of the services and to the foster care program, and to watch them be put back together.
All right, and just real quick, the website?
Well, vbgov.com, becoming a foster parent is where you would get the information, but Misty Lee is our recruiter person, and her number is 384-3214, 385-3214, 385-3214.
All right, and we'll put that up too. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Ann Farrell Tata. We'll see you next time on Joy in Our Town.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town.